What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. I'm BRAVExHERO, and today we're talking about the ultimate Arc Buddy army build. I was actually really impressed on how this build overall worked, and yes guys, the synergy is so great it even benefits your teammates. And if you're wondering, yes, this is something you can take into endgame content. And for those wondering, yes, you can find the dim loadout down below in the description. But don't worry, we're gonna go over all of that in today's video. Before we get into the build, if you're new to the channel, do me a favor and click that subscribe button. Subscribing to the channel is priceless because I keep you up to date with all the best PvE and PvP builds. Thank you so much for being here, and let's get into the build. To start off today's build, you want to be on the Warlock character. Now when it comes to selecting which super to utilize, you want to use the Chaos Reach subclass. The reason we decided to go with Chaos Reach is because you can deactivate this super whenever and it'll save super energy. This is gonna come in handy later on in today's build. Now, if you catch me skipping over some things in the subclass, it's because it's not necessary and you can choose anything you want. For instance, when it comes to the melee ability, it's completely up to you. It doesn't change the build at all. Now, when it comes to choosing a grenade, I highly recommend you go with the pulse grenade option. This grenade is highly effective, and if you plan on taking this build into endgame activities and you pair it alongside the seasonal mod surge detonators, you can really see a huge benefit from this grenade. Now, if you do plan on using surge detonators and you're gonna take this into a high level activity, then I highly recommend you run the fragment Spark of Magnitude. Your lingering arc grenades, pulse grenades, have extended duration. When jumping into high level activities, when you're stunning those overload champions, you'll see the benefit of this fragment. Picking up right where we left off, we're jumping right into the aspects. Today's aspect of choice is going to be the Arc Souls aspect. This aspect gives us so many benefits for PvE. For starters, when you activate a healing rift or an empowering rift, this creates an Arc Soul. The next benefit from this aspect is when your teammates run through your rift, they're gonna get Arc Souls as well. As you can tell, you're already being a team player. Now, the next benefit of this aspect is when you're near your teammates, your rift recharges much quicker. Now, the last portion of this aspect is going to be when you're amplified, your Arc Souls are supercharged and gain increased fire rate. Guys, we're gonna be amplified the entire time. Now, our next aspect is going to be Electrostatic Mind. Now, this aspect reads, defeating targets with arc abilities or defeating jolted or blinded targets creates an ionic trace. Collecting these ionic traces makes you amplified. Okay, what if I told you we're gonna be defeating targets with all of that? Our arc abilities, targets who are jolted, and targets who are blinded. Guys, this build revolves around it. Now, before we get into our fragments, let's talk about both of our exotics for today's build. For starters, we're gonna wanna use the Getaway Artist. These are the exotic gauntlets for the Warlock class, and it comes with the exotic perk Dynamic Duo. Convert your arc grenades into Arc Souls and become amplified. The Arc Soul functions as an autonomous turret. For those who are unaware of how this exotic works, when you consume your grenade, this summons a sentient Arc Soul for 20 seconds. Lastly, if your Arc Soul does a little bit of damage, you'll gain a little bit of grenade energy. And lastly, if the timer is about to run out, if you activate your rift, this will extend your timer once again. Keep in mind that there's two versions of the Arc Soul. If you activate your rift, this is going to be a basic Arc Soul. But if you consume your grenade, this is going to be a sentient Arc Soul, which is much more aggressive and stronger, and it makes you amplified. And on one final note, if you activate your rift and you get an Arc Soul, this cannot convert over into a sentient Arc Soul. So if you consume your grenade, you will just extend the timer of Arc Soul. This is why it's really important to remember, consume your grenade, then activate your rift. Do it in that order. Now, our exotic weapon of choice is going to be the Divinity Trace Rifle. And yes, guys, nobody likes using Divinity. Everyone hates it. But what if I told you in today's video, the Divinity, it goes crazy because it benefits you and your teammates. Trust me, guys, I'll explain this in a bit. Now, the Divinity Trace Rifle has two perks that really benefit you in endgame activities. For starters, it has the perk Judgment. Sustained damage with this weapon envelops the target in a field that weakens and stuns them. That perk alone will stun overload champions. It also has the perk Penance. Targets under the effects of Judgment long enough are struck with a burst of damage. Now, here's where the Divinity goes crazy. When you're shooting the target with the Trace Rifle, this will create a giant orb around them. That entire orb is a crit spot, and your teammates can benefit from that. Now, one of the main reasons why people hate using this exotic is because you do very little damage. But here's where we change that. Your Arc Souls will deal critical damage, and guys, they deal a lot of damage. So while you're there laying into the enemy with a trace rifle, don't worry, your Arc Souls are picking up the slack. But there's another reason we went with the Divinity Trace Rifle, and it's in our fragments. Now, getting into our fragments, if you are running these Surge Detonators builds, then you want to run Spark of Magnitude. This is going to increase the duration of your pulse grenades. Again guys, if you're confused, both loadouts will be down below in the description. Our first fragment is Spark of Discharge. Arc weapon final blows have a chance to create an ionic trace. I wonder what arc weapon we're using. Do you see this energy already? This is why we're using Divinity. Our next fragment is Spark of Beacons. While you're amplified, your arc special weapon final blows create a blinding explosion. I wonder what arc weapon we're using. Again guys, even more synergy. This is why we decided to go with the Divinity. Not only does it benefit your teammates, but it gives you ionic traces and causes a blinding explosion. Now, one of the biggest downfalls of the Divinity Trace Rifle is its poor reload speed. This is why we're going with the fragment Spark of Momentum. Sliding over ammo bricks reloads your equipped weapon and grants you a small amount of melee energy. Now let's go over the mods quickly. For my helmet, I decided to run 2 Arc Siphon mods. This is where rapid arc weapon final blows creates an orb of power. Now on my helmet, I did have room to slot a Taking Charge mod. This is when we pick up an orb, we become charged with light. Now on my gauntlets, the Getaway Artist, I decided to use Anti-Barrier Auto Rifle, 1 Trace Rifle Reloader, and I decided to slot the mod Font of Wisdom. Now when I pick up Arc Elemental Wells, I'll get a significant increase to my intellect. Now on my chest piece, I had to slot 2 Trace Rifle Reserves since we're using the Divinity so much. I did have room to slot 1 more mod into it, so I went with the mod Elemental Armaments. Combatant weapon final blows with a damage type that matches your subclass element have an escalating chance to spawn an Elemental Well. Essentially, when I get kills with Divinity, it's gonna spawn those Arc Elemental Wells. And when I pick those wells up, it's going to boost my intellect temporarily. Now on my leg armor, I had to use 2 Innervation mods, since this is gonna boost my grenade cooldown when I pick up those orbs generated by Arc Siphon. Now if you remember, on my helmet, I had the Taking Charge mod, so I'm gonna pair that alongside the High Fire Energy mod. This is gonna give me a little bit of bonus damage when using my Divinity when I'm charged with light. Moving into my Warlock bond, I went with the seasonal mod Bad Amplitude. Damaging a champion with an arc ability causes the champion to become jolted. Not only will I be stunning overload champions with my Divinity Trace Rifle, but I'll be making them jolted as well, since my arc buddies will be causing damage. Now depending if you're going to be running Surge Detonators, that will fill the last slot. But if you're not going to be running Surge Detonators, I decided to run Special Finisher. With the amount of intellect I'm getting from Font of Wisdom and the amount of orbs I'm picking up, I got my super extremely quickly. So when I found myself short on ammo, all I had to do was finish an enemy and this would give me more Divinity ammo. And this is ultimately why we went with the Chaos Reach subclass, because if I wanted to utilize my super, I didn't have to use all of it. I could have stopped it whenever, and this gives me the ability to use Special Finisher so I can get more ammo. Now it's pretty easy to set this up. As soon as you spawn into any activity, consume one of your grenades and get a Sentient Arc Soul. But keep an eye on the timer. When it gets down to about 4 seconds, if you have another grenade ready, consume another Arc Soul. If not, just pop your Rift. You'll get your grenade back extremely quickly if you start killing enemies with the Divinity. And by doing so, you're gonna see orbs of power drop on the ground and also elemental wells. This is gonna boost your grenade cooldown, give you high fire energy because you became charged with light, and when you pick up those wells, it's going to boost your intellect. And there you have it, the ultimate Arc Buddy army build. I had a lot of fun using this loadout, and I'm gonna use it more often, especially when it comes to Legend Lost Sectors. But not only that, we took a trace rifle that nobody liked using and made it viable in almost any activity. If you enjoyed today's video and you want to see more videos like this, then do me a favor and click that subscribe button, and don't forget to turn on all notifications. On that note, if you liked the video, click the like button guys, it's easy. Lastly, if you're looking for more builds, that video on the left that just popped up, that's the ultimate Titan build, punch everything in sight. But if you want a playlist of all my builds, that video on the right is going to have all my Arc 3.0 builds. Thank you so much for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. You guys have a good one, and I will see you in the next video.